With all the success you've had, do you still face, are you currently facing any fears, or are there fears about the horizon?
Man, I have to give you amazing props. You're such a curious person about the people that you talk to. I love it. I love it, man.
Thank you.
The answer is, thank you. Are you kidding me? I've been on a ton of podcasts and people just same questions.
Welcome to the Idea Climbing Radio Show. Today we're talking about how to involve people, planet, and profit in your next big idea. And my guest is Scott Rosenzweig. Scott is the founder and CEO of Sustainability Core Advisors, which is in the business of fractional sustainability consulting. His firm helps innovative companies to focus not just on profit, but on people, planet, and profit. Focusing on all three of these factors, social responsibility, environmental responsibility, and bottom line profit, can help companies achieve something that's called the triple bottom line. This has become a desirable goal for businesses of all types in the world that is increasingly demanding sustainability awareness and action. Thank you for making the time, Scott. I really appreciate it.
Mark, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, and good to see you.
And before we get into some of the details and strategies for people, planet, profit, as far as that and the triple bottom line, how did you come across it? Why do you embrace it so much? What's the story there?
Appreciate that. So the year, I love telling this story. The year was 2016. And at the time, I'm originally from Chicago. I'm back in Denver, Colorado for nearly 5 years. And so I was running a company as its CEO in Chicago. Again, the year was 2016. And we were selling a lot of very large publicly traded transportation companies, names, that many people would know. Companies like Caterpillar and John Deere and Oshkosh Defense and Pierce Fire Engines up in Appleton. And it was a particular year, that year 2016, when a lot of these large publicly traded transportation companies were presenting the tractor of the future, the bulldozer of the future, the fire engine of the future, years out. And the reason they would have us there, we were in the hydraulics and electronic controls business. And the reason they would have us there, as well as our competitors, all legally, because everybody was being presented what these vehicles of the future were, because we had to design 3 and 4 years out for these new large tractors, bulldozers, what have you, of the future. So this particular year, there were a lot of these meetings, and during some of the meetings, I start looking around the room, and I'm looking at my competitors, and I knew my competitors. I was very competitively aware, and I'm thinking to myself, where is as a CEO of this company that I'm running, where is my differentiated strategy? How was I any different? Because there was really 4 basic elements. There's quality. Well, we wouldn't be in the room, and they wouldn't be in the room selling these big companies if our quality wasn't good. So I knew that was consistent. They were as good as I was, right? Next was price. Well, these are large publicly traded companies. They beat you down on price. So I couldn't have much of a differentiation on price. And obviously we wanted to maximize our margin. So price, it was pretty much equal. Then there was delivery. Well, if you're late, you're never going to sell these guys again. So you're never late, and you factor that into your production schedule. And then lastly, again, there's quality, price, delivery. The last one was relationship. I knew that our relationships with these large companies, customers, were good, and I assumed theirs were as well. So the dilemma I had was I didn't have a differentiated strategy, was the honest, humble answer. So it was during that time that I've always been a sustainably oriented guy, very big in the outdoors, very aware of climate and whatnot, but didn't at the time understand it in business. And I said to myself, geez, I'm picking up on all these buzzwords like sustainability and DEI and triple bottom line and ESG, which stands for environmental social governance, which all of these large publicly traded customers of mine, these companies, were all talking about. So I thought to myself, maybe this could be my differentiated strategy, but I don't know what it is. So I spent the better part of 2016 learning all about it, and was excited to learn about it for 2 reasons. One is to have a differentiated strategy in my company, but also because I'm a very sustainably oriented individual in all walks of my life. I thought, wow, this could be pretty cool. So I learned a whole bunch about it, asked a lot of questions of a lot of the senior leaders of this company, and I was starting to make a reputation and name for myself as being interested in all of this. Then in 2017, as time went on, I said, okay, as I was at CEO conferences and as I was at a variety of private equity conferences and other big forums, I would ask my peers at the coffee breaks or at the cocktail parties or what have you, hey, I've learned a lot about ESG and sustainability and DEI and all of these wonderful things, the triple bottom line. I'm looking to bring in a company that I could hire to help me implement it because I know what it is and I know why it's important, but I don't know how to implement it into my business and help make it a differentiated strategy. Mm-hmm. And I would get a blank stare from just about every other CEO that I spoke to or president that I spoke to. And then they'd all, for the most part, smile and they'd say, that's a great idea. When you find the company, let me know because we'll hire them as well. And an idea was born. And the proverbial light bulb went off. And I thought to myself, man, this could be something pretty neat. So in 2018, I incorporated the company as a Colorado-based company. It was under a different name at that time. We've evolved into Sustainability Core Advisors. And then what I did in 2018 is I did something that I thought was pretty smart. I went to 5 of my friends that own businesses in manufacturing businesses in my network. And I said, hey, I've got this idea. And I walked them through what the idea was. And I said, would you mind if I used your company, each of these 5, from a skunk works perspective, a grassroots development perspective, and test out my concept, but I won't burden any of the 5 with the whole concept. I broke it up into 5 pieces, but all of the 5 benefited from the whole. Mm-hmm. And they said, sure, absolutely. That's a great idea. So I did. And I used so 2016 was education, 27 was proof of concept validation, 2018 was incorporating and then testing it actually in the real world. And then we began to do business in 2019. And that's really how we got started. That was the launch of what is now Sustainability Core Advisors.
So people is first. Could you explain a little bit? Maybe it's a little bit different than typical because it's all about the people as far as I think any company goes or sales process and recruiting anything. As far as people, why does that come first in this scenario among those 3?
Yeah, great question. And I appreciate you asking it. So people should always come first in any organization. And all too often, even today, companies are still focused only on the bottom line profit. And nothing is wrong with making profit. We want our clients to make a lot of profit. That's great. But if you're not focused on your people, if you're not taking care of your people, especially in a competitive environment in which we all operate today, post-pandemic, it's very difficult hiring people. It's very difficult hiring the right people. And here's some interesting facts, Mark, is that younger generations in particular, so I'm Gen X, right? Mm-hmm. After me is Gen Y, which is millennial. And then after millennial is Gen Z. And then after Gen Z is Gen Alpha. Well, those 3 younger generations following my generation, the Y, the Z, and the Alpha, those 3 generations are often called the green generations. And they are making purchasing decisions today. Matter of fact, collectively, those 3 generations make up 65% of purchasing decisions today, both B2B and B2C. So it's over 50%, it's commanding. Those 3 generations have a lot of control. And mark my words, and other studies that have been done on this, that those 3 generations look for companies that have a purpose-driven mission. And they are making purchasing decisions based on companies that do or do not have a purpose-driven mission. And then clearly, they're making decisions to focus on those with a purpose-driven mission. So back to your direct question about people. Why people? Because people and therefore culture makes up any organization. That is the DNA. That is the actual foundation of any company. Obviously, you need a good product or you need a good service. You have to be priced right and you have to be needed in the marketplace, requested in the marketplace. But at the end of the day, You need the right people, the right culture to be able to pull off whatever it is. And actually, companies that are focused on people first, planet, and profit, they're all equal, but people has to come first, are running better companies. Statistically, they are running better businesses.
You mentioned, I'd love you to unpack this a little bit more. Purpose-driven mission, purpose-driven business. How do you find purpose? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so may I use an example? I think probably best to illustrate an example. Okay, so there's a company that many of your listeners are going to know, and I'll tease it out just a little bit. It's a food company that was started in 1993, ironically in Denver. So it's a 31-year-old company, and they're in the fast casual food business. And they started very humbly in 1993 on Evans Avenue in Denver, near Denver University, with one location, and they were selling high quality for the price Mexican food. Maybe Mark, you might know who I'm talking about.
I think so.
Go ahead. Say it if you know it.
Chipotle?
Chipotle, exactly. So 31 years ago, the executive chef that started Chipotle, his mission, his purpose-driven mission, getting back to your question, and I love using examples because it helps illustrate concepts. His purpose-driven mission was to bring high-quality Mexican food to the masses at a time when it was a lot of McDonald's, a lot of Burger King, a lot of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and the millennial generation is who put Chipotle on the map. By the way, 31 years later, they're an $8.2 billion company. And Chipotle never imagined in their wildest imagination to be that large. Now, the ownership has changed and all of that now, of course. But the whole idea was bring good food to the people that everybody generally likes. Mexican is a pretty popular category of food. And do it in a way that's a very open format. So when you walk into Chipotle, it's a very open structure. You see your food being made. You tell the clerk behind the counter what you want, so you can see everything. You can even see the food in the back being made. So still today, the purpose-driven mission of it, and then I'll expand on this in just a minute, at Chipotle is 53 ingredients, every one of them you can pronounce. No can openers, still to this day. No freezer, still to this day. And no preservatives, still to this day. And then all of the protein product, whether it's beef or chicken or pork, it's all sustainably harvested from farms, typically family farms, that allow the animals to roam free. So everything is in open format. So coming back to your good question, the millennial generation, again, that put Chipotle on the map was looking for a company with a mission. They take care of their people. They take care of their customers. They take care of their suppliers. They are involved in their community. And coming back to the people end of it that you were referencing earlier, along with purpose-driven mission, is if you take care of your people, and people doesn't just mean employees, it means upstream to your suppliers, and it means downstream to your customers, and holistically, it means all of your community. You're gonna be more embraced by your customers, your suppliers, your shareholders, your stakeholders, your community, and you're just simply gonna run a better business. And that's really what we do at Sustainability Core Advisors, is we work with our clients to help them do better in whatever market they're in, kind of making them Chipotles out of whatever it is they make, whether it's a widget or whatever the case may be.
So why do you think it is? I mean, as opposed to, say, boomers, why do those younger generations focus so much on purpose? What have you experienced with the why behind that?
Well, a lot of people like to joke about the millennial generation and generations after that, but they're very caring individuals. They're generations that have grown up with a lot of support, and I say that very positively. And they've grown up with the idea where their parents, people like me, Xers or boomers, have had the ability to be very supportive of that particular generation. And by the way, Mark, I don't know if you knew this, but this is the first time in human history that we have that we have 5 generations in the workforce.
Oh.
And I just heard a great presentation a couple of 3 weeks ago at a Vistage conference about just that this is the first time in history that we have 5 generations. So usually the oldest generation retires. Well, a lot of older generations, boomers, and then the traditionalists after that are staying on. They're either working fractionally or they're working later in their career for a number of different reasons. Number one, we're living longer. So if we're living, life expectancy used to be a lot less. So retirement, for example, was set up at 62, and then it's increased from there because life expectancy wasn't that great decades ago. It's a lot greater today. So a lot of older generations are feeling good. They want to work. They want to continue to contribute. Also, as we all know, things are far more expensive today than they've ever been before with inflation and other dynamics. So a lot are staying in the workforce because they need the money. And that's created a real dynamic of generations. And I'm not a generation specialist by any means, but we know that the 3 that we focus on in terms of pleasing from a customer buyer standpoint is Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha, the 3 generations that come after X. So really just in summation on that, they're very caring and they're very thoughtful about what goes in to who they patronize as a company. And then they want those companies to be good and be better and do good in the environment and do good in the community.
And I think you've started to touch on this with sustainability and everything else. As far as there's people, which you just explained, and then there's planet. Planet encompasses a lot. Where do you even begin to focus on bringing planet into the mix?
Right. So thanks for bringing that up. So the concept, let me just take a half a step back. The concept is called the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. And it used to be, if you go back to the Adam Smith economist days, companies existed to make a profit. And companies existed only to make a profit for the benefit of the management team and the shareholders. And then over the course of time, things changed. And we had the ability to bring more purpose, not just through profit, but through people, as we just got done talking about, and then planet. So the planet aspect of it, whatever side of the climate change debate somebody might be on, none of us can deny that climate is changing. Whether you have a belief as to why it's changing, that's a whole different issue. But all you have to do is, look at all the hurricane activity that's been going on, or the earthquake activity and other natural disasters. They're getting more fierce, they're getting longer, and they're more intense. So the whole concept as part of people, planet, profit is if you take care of your people, as we just talked about, you then begin to take care of the planet. Now, what does that mean? Because you're right, it's an enormous topic. How can one company ever make an impact? Well, our philosophy at Sustainability Core Advisors is do your part. And that every business owner, every CEO, every president has the ability to impact planet in their own inimitable way. For example, worked recently, matter of fact, still working with this client, but this is a client where here in Denver that we recently gained what's called certifiably green Denver certification. It's a green certification process and program that we went through over the course of many months to get them certified. And one small example of that process is a massive recycling program with this particular client, and also composting. So what they've done is they eliminated, with my help, with our help, they eliminated all the plastic, all the styrofoam, anything that was single-use plastic. We all know we have a plastic problem in the oceans, and we all know there's a plastic problem in the world. They eliminated it, all of it, and then they got each of their employees what we call a camp kit, and it's a spoon and fork that's reusable, has the logo of the company on it, has the name of the employee on it, and when they come into the lunchroom, they bring their camp kit, which is their knife, fork, and spoon that's reusable, and they simply wipe it off or wash it off, or both, after every use. So this particular company is doing their part by reducing and eliminating plastic. They're doing then a better job of recycling. For example, all the inbound boxes that come into them, they're a distributor. They're reusing those boxes and sending them back out to customers. So the boxes don't say their name on it, but the tape that they use says the name of the company. So they're reusing boxes. So the whole idea behind Planet is to be wise of the natural resources that you take from the earth and then reduce your waste. Do everything you can to reduce your waste and have less of an imprint, less of an impact from a waste standpoint on the planet.
How you mentioned companies need to do their part because Planet's such a all-encompassing everything. How does a company know what their part is? How do you even break it down and know what you should be doing?
Yeah, great question. So we like to say at Sustainability Core Advisors that we like to work with innovative CEOs and innovative CFOs that recognize they're running a great business, but that they could do more. They could do more on the people, planet, and profit side. And inherently, I challenge any CEO or CFO. They know what they inherently know things that they could do better to reduce waste. But very often they'll hire a fractional sustainability consulting company like Sustainability Core Advisors, where we help them in a myriad of different ways. And I can get into that down the road on our interview here of some of the things that we offer. But inherently, the leader of a business knows what they can inherently do better from a resource reduction and a waste reduction standpoint. And then, whatever they read or whatever networking groups they're a part of, there's a lot of movements in a lot of cities that are helping companies to make better decisions in terms of how they go to market from a resource standpoint.
So how do people in Planet, how do you roll into profit when it sounds like it was flipped. It was profit, all about the profit. Now it's people in Planet first. How do you roll profit into that without coming across as being money hungry or only caring about the bottom line?
Appreciate that. Yeah, for sure. And I just want to be clear. People, planet, profit is all equal. They're all equal. There isn't necessarily any one that's different, and you really can put them in any order. We like to say people, planet, profit. There's a nice roll to that, but they're all generally equal. And we're all about profit. I mean, there's nothing wrong with profit. Profit is great. That's why businesses should be in business, but not solely. And it used to be, again, back, 40s, 50s, 60s, what have you, 70s, it was all about profit and only profit at the expense of people and at the expense of the environment. And then as society has evolved, as generations have evolved, the people, planet, profit, the triple bottom line, again, as it's called, was coined in 1994. So it's not new. It's been around for a while. We just use it a lot. So back to your question about profit. We are 100% about profit. We want all of our clients to make profit. And we would suggest, and there's been research studies that have been done on this, that companies that are operating with the tenets of people, planet, profit, those processes and principles and practices, they are running better businesses and they are outperforming their peers in the same category of product or service that are not running with those same principles and tenets of people, planet, and profit. So not only is it the right thing to do to focus on people, planet, profit, but you're running a better business and you're going to end up, in most cases, making more profit because your employees are more engaged, the community is more engaged, your suppliers are more engaged, you're reducing waste, you're being thoughtful about what you're taking from the planet. All of that feeds into the profit mix. And we would suggest, whether it's with our help at Sustainability Core Advisors or otherwise, that innovative CEOs and CFOs that run with those principles and talents are going to do better, and in most cases make more profit than they would otherwise.
So you mentioned it a couple times. People, everyone, it sounds like everyone or almost everyone involved, you said engaged. Could you unpack that a little bit? Why are they more engaged when you use a triple bottom line?
Sure, that's a great question. They're engaged because they're being asked their opinion. There's a lot of companies that used to operate, and many still do, where we will tell you what to do, just do your job. And what happens in a sustainably oriented organization is you have groups of people, committees, if you will, or teams is a term we prefer to use, that are working on a variety of different things that will help the company get better. So, for example, one of the services we offer is the ability we'll write a sustainability manual for a client. And that sustainability manual, we have about 15 different services, by the way, but one of them, as an example, is a sustainability manual. So when we come in and we write a sustainability manual, it outlines how the company should operate in all respects, from a sourcing standpoint, from a processing standpoint, from a delivery standpoint, taking into account people, planet, and profit.
So how do you define sustainability? I mean, the manual sounds like it could be a big deal. A lot of work could go into it. When you say sustainable, what do you mean by that?
Well, again, come back to the example of using, leveraging the people in the organization. The sustainability manual sets the tone. And then we get together, another service we offer is we get together what are called green teams. And instead of, a lot of the clients we work with are under, are hundreds of millions or less. Typically, we work 500 million and below, and they can't afford, nor do they need, quite frankly, a full-time sustainability head of sustainability on their team. But they need fractional leadership, which is where we come in. So we get together with that company after we write, for example, a sustainability manual. We create a green team, which is a little bit of Bob, Betty, John, Jim, and Sue's time. And we bring them together and we work to make the company a much better company by getting the employees involved to solve their own issues. The best run companies are those that leverage the talents of their people and listen to the ideas, thoughts, recommendations, and suggestions of their employees.
Well, it sounds like they have the triple bottom line with everything you mentioned. There's new programs, new ways to do things, sometimes bringing in a fractional or an entire team to help out with it. On the surface, it sounds like they need more resources, which could sound like, well, we have to spend more money or invest more money because we need more resources in our company. And then if we just focused on profit, but you just said they're outperforming the companies that only care about the profit. What do those dynamics look like? How could they need more resources to get more done and yet still be outperforming people that only care about profit?
Great question. So we have a lot of blogs on our website, and I encourage your listeners to go and read this. But there is there's sometimes the myth that companies that adopt a sustainable strategy end up spending more money, and that's just simply not true. They're leveraging the existing resources they have much better. They're leveraging the existing resources they have in a more prudent fashion, and again, gaining the insight and the ideas and thoughts and suggestions of the employees, many of which have the answers. We help guide them, but a lot of times they have the answers of how they, when you put a team and you say to a team, hey, we need to reduce our waste, right? We need to have less waste. How could we do that? And by the way, less waste is not only a good thing to do, but it equates to less garbage in the garbage bins, which requires less frequency of picking it up. And there's a literal cost reduction when it comes to less trash, as an example. Use my client here in Denver as an example. They reuse boxes, as I mentioned. So what used to go into the trash bin and was picked up multiple times a week, now they're reusing those boxes. 95% of them are reusable. And not only are they saving money by not buying new corrugated, but they're also saving money by not throwing those boxes away and having the excess pickups by the trash company. So there's just one example of one decision made by the CEO to reuse boxes is saving them money on the buy side and saving them money on the refuse or the trash end of it. So that's another good reason. That's just one example of how companies save money by adopting the triple bottom line: people, planet, profit.
Well, now you have me wondering, how do you sustain sustainability? How do you avoid, because I know a lot of times when consultants, I think this goes for almost any arena, the consultants come in, or the fractionals, as a lot of people are working as today. They come in, they put together the manual, they do something, everyone gets excited for 3-6 months, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
How do you maintain that over time and not just say, wow, look what we did, and then we fell back into our old profit mode?
It's a great question, and it comes to the word commitment, right? So if the organization is committed to sustainability, and there's a number of ways to even gain certifications. I'll speak about one of those here in a minute. It all centers on leadership in the company. Leadership begins at the top. And if the CEO and the CFO and the senior leadership and management team of the company, if they make sustainability a priority and they've invested in perhaps a company like us to come in and help get them up and running, or they do it themselves, that's fine. It's all about commitment. And that's why we recommend leveraging a fractional sustainability consultant to get you set up, get you established, write the sustainability manual, get the green teams up and running, help you modify your marketing to speak to the younger generations that care about sustainability and what you do, learn about conscious capitalism, learn about what you can do in your community. All those things, once it gets rolling, it's like a snowball heading downhill. It just picks up steam. And companies that start their sustainability journey, they seldom, if ever, go back, because there's so many inherent benefits. As I mentioned, there's cost reduction benefits, there's profitability benefits, there's better known in their industry, they're better known in their community, they're giving back. Oh, and I missed one thing earlier. One of the residual benefits of going sustainable is gaining great talent. So younger talent today, which is millennial, Gen Y, Z, and then, Alpha's not in the workplace yet, but Gen Y and Gen Z, my daughter's a Z as an example, and in the early part of the workforce, they want to work, those younger generations, the green generations, they want to work for companies that have sustainability in their DNA. So very often they're getting the best of the best as a residual benefit of bringing sustainability, the triple bottom line, all of the elements that go along with it, ESG, environmental social governance, which is very similar to the triple bottom line, which is a term we use more than ESG, but they're getting the best talent as a residual benefit. Because if you're in a younger generation and you're buying or patronizing companies that have that kind of core value of being better by doing better, aren't you going to want to work for those companies? Absolutely. And tech is a great example. A lot of the big tech companies became sustainably oriented a couple of decades ago, and they began to attract the best talent as a result of that. And there's a lot of other industries that have had the great benefit of doing the same.
How, once you get this, you get the commitment and things are rolling with people and planet and things are going great, they've shifted. What you just mentioned with the younger generations, how do you let them know? I mean, is it traditional PR that lets them know? Is it word of mouth? How do you take it from inside? Of course, leadership knows because they're hiring consultants, fractionals, maybe even a C-suite position. But how do you let the younger generations know what you're doing for the people on the planet?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So it's a modification of their marketing strategy. So a company's existing marketing strategy, whether it's traditional media or social media or website or whatever the case may be, in the past would never say anything about sustainability. Now, with our help, or even without our help, if a company wants to go it alone without a consultant, that's fine. But in our case, we help weave marketing changes into their marketing strategies so that they're speaking the right language, the right lingo, they're using the right terminology. And absolutely, Mark, we're helping them tell every one of their customers all the wonderful things that they've done to change the DNA of the company to be more sustainably oriented. So, it's really a marketing strategy, a modified marketing strategy that includes sustainability and green elements is really the answer to the question you asked.
What avenues stand out with marketing because they're younger generations? Is it heavy social media, heavy traditional because it's still going to get in front of them? What kind of marketing have you seen be effective to let younger generations know?
Definitely social media and enhanced social media strategies. So in business, it's LinkedIn, obviously, from a social standpoint. It's also YouTube. We also encourage clients get on Facebook, get on Instagram. It's about awareness, and no matter what you make, I always say that you never know who knows somebody, right? So there might be a millennial that sees an Instagram ad or post or whatever from a company, and it may be of no interest to them because they're not interested in that product, but maybe their mother or their father or their uncle or their sister or their brother or their friend, somebody might get word of that from that millennial that saw that post on Instagram or Facebook or a YouTube video or some other post and said, hey, you might want to check this out. I know this is something you're interested in. So I'm all about using the traditional business channels such as website and collateral marketing, digitized, of course, today, and also LinkedIn. But then we also recommend you should venture and foray into where a lot of younger people are getting their news and they're getting their advertisements, which is through social media, the TikToks of the world, the Instagrams of the world, the Facebooks of the world, through things of that nature. So we can assist with that, or we just encourage it. However it gets done, you've got to tell your audiences what you're doing, and if you put all this time and effort into a sustainability strategy and culture and changing your business for the better, why not tell everybody about it?
We have covered a lot of ground in a short period of time compared to what the conversation could have been, involving three big subjects like people, planet, and profit. Someone listening or watching is thinking, this, I get it. You said a lot that sounds great. If you were to tell them, and this is a big question, if you were to at least do one thing to get started, to get the ball rolling, above all, if nothing else, at least do this one thing, what would you say?
That's a great question. It's a hard question, but I'll answer it. Start with your people. Start with your people. Hire the best people. Listen to your people. Create an environment where your employees are able to challenge the status quo. Be open to new ideas, new thoughts, new suggestions, new ways of doing things. The younger generations are fantastic, and they're complementing now older generations. And if older generations are open to it, they're going to learn as well. And then you get the best of both worlds. So I would say focus on the people part of it, focus on the planet and the profit. Again, not necessarily in that order. We just like to talk about it that way because we do want you to start with your people. But they're all equally important. But if you start with your people and you build the best organization, best culture, you're going to far outweigh anybody else that's competing with you, because they might not be going down that same path.
This has been great. And if people want to find out more about you and business and everything else, where's the best place or places to go to learn more about you online?
Sure. Sustainabilitycoreadvisors.com is our website. There's a lot of resources there. We encourage you to go there. You can contact us through there as well. You can contact me directly, scott@sustainabilitycoreadvisors.com. Would probably be the best ways to do that, Mark. And we would love and encourage any company that's interested or intrigued to learn more to contact us in one way, shape, or form. And we'll get information to you, and we'll help you flesh out any existing strategy you might have or thinking about, and we'll get you to where you need to get to from a sustainability strategy standpoint, so that your company can make a difference in the industry and in the environment and in the community that you operate in.
Thanks again, Scott. I appreciate the time. This has been awesome.
Been great. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it, and have a great day.
And scene. Thank you for tuning into the Idea Climbing radio show today. I really appreciate it. I hope you got something great out of it that you can take into your own life and use to be better in your own life. If you want more great shows like this, go to 216thenet.com. You want to see more of my interviews, radio show, and podcast? Go to markjcartertv.com. Again, that's markjcartertv.com and 216thenet.com. Hope to see you on one of those platforms or maybe even both.